The relationship between slave masters and enslaved black women stands as one of the most brutal and complex facets of American slavery. It was a dynamic deeply rooted in the institution itself, reflecting its inherent cruelty and systemic oppression. Please like, comment, and subscribe. This interaction was fundamentally defined by extreme power imbalances, where one party held absolute dominion over the other. Crucially, these were never consensual relationships, nor could they be characterized as love or partnership in any meaningful sense. Instead, they represented a profound system of exploitation designed to benefit the enslaver at the expense of the enslaved. Such interactions invariably involved coercion, violence, and the systematic dehumanization of black women. Within the framework of slavery, the master wielded absolute power over every aspect of an enslaved woman's life. Enslaved individuals, including women, were legally considered chattel property, not human beings. This status meant they were entirely subject to the master's arbitrary will and control with no legal recourse or protection. This absolute power extended directly to the enslaved woman's body, rendering her profoundly vulnerable. Her physical autonomy was non existent, making her an easy target for sexual assault and exploitation. The frequent use of this power for forced sexual relations was a pervasive and horrific reality of the slave system. These coerced unions often resulted in the birth of children, further entrenching the cycle of bondage. These children, born to enslaved mothers, were automatically deemed slaves themselves, regardless of their paternity. Their existence was precarious, marked by the constant threat of sale and separation. These children were tragically caught between the identities of their white fathers, who often denied them, and their enslaved mothers, who could offer little protection. This created a unique and painful dilemma for generations born into such circumstances. The motivations driving masters to engage in these relationships were varied and often deeply disturbing. Some were undoubtedly driven by pure lust or a desire to assert their absolute power and control. Others sought a perverse semblance of family, attempting to build a domestic unit founded entirely upon the institution of slavery and forced servitude. Regardless of the master's specific motivations, the consequences for the enslaved woman were consistently devastating. She endured the profound and lasting trauma of sexual violence, a violation that stripped her of dignity and bodily autonomy. Beyond the physical assault, she carried the immense emotional burden of bearing children into slavery. These mothers lived under the constant, agonizing threat of separation from their children, a common practice used to maintain control and generate profit. The emotional and psychological toll of such a life was immeasurable, leaving deep scars that transcended generations. These brutal relationships played a significant role in the perpetuation and expansion of the slave system itself. They directly contributed to an increase in the enslaved population, providing more laborers and assets for slaveholders without the cost of purchase. This internal growth was a key economic driver for the institution. Furthermore, these interactions served to further dehumanize enslaved women, reducing them to mere instruments for labor and reproduction. They were systematically stripped of their inherent dignity, treated as commodities rather than individuals with rights or feelings. Their agency, their ability to make choices about their own lives and bodies was entirely eradicated. Children born from these relationships, often of mixed racial heritage, faced unique forms of discrimination and prejudice. Their lives were complicated by their lineage, often navigating a world that rejected them from both white and sometimes even black communities. This added another layer of suffering to their already difficult existence. The legacy of these brutal and complex relationships continues to resonate profoundly in contemporary society. They serve as a stark and undeniable reminder of the inherent horrors and moral bankruptcy of slavery. This history highlights the enduring and pervasive impact of racial violence, which was inextricably linked to the institution of slavery. It also underscores the deep and lasting trauma of sexual violence, particularly when perpetrated within a system of absolute power. Understanding this specific aspect of slavery is crucial for confronting the systemic racism that persists today. It reveals the deep historical roots of racial inequality and injustice. Acknowledging and studying this difficult history is essential for working towards a more just and equitable society. It demands a full reckoning with the past to inform and guide efforts for true social change and reconciliation in the present.